Good evening, everyone. I am going to call our April 21st meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. We always begin our meeting with a moment of silence, and this is also the time that I ask you to silence your cell phones for the meeting. So make sure that they are not going to make beeps and bobs and all those fun things that go on with our phones during the day. So I'd appreciate that. And now, if you'll join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. And now, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Smith, announcements?
Good evening, everybody. Have a few announcements for you this evening, so just bear with me. Up top, I wanted to remind everybody that Charlotte Water implemented voluntary water restrictions yesterday, Monday, April 20th. Customers are asked to reduce non-essential water use to help protect our water supply due to ongoing dry conditions. There are no mandatory restrictions at this time, but voluntary conservation now helps avoid more strict measures later. And if you're curious as to what all of that entails, you can find that list on our website at huntersville.org or at their website at charlottewater.org. Also, a few things to be aware of with HPD coming up. On April 25th in Veterans Park from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., they're having their Shredded event. And then on May 17th, HPD is having a hiring event, and there are more details to come on that. You'll be able to find sign-up information on the Huntersville PD Facebook page. Also wanted to remind everybody to join us at the ballpark down at Truist Field in Charlotte for our town takeover of the Charlotte Knights game. We'll be playing the Gwinnett Stripers, and we want to have a lot of town participation, a lot of people from Huntersville there showing our town love. We'll have a table on the concourse, so you'll see us there. The game starts at 6:05, and Mayor Clark will throw the first pitch. If you'd like to buy tickets or read more, you can again visit our website at huntersville.org. Also, please join us for our annual State of the Town address with Mayor Christy Clark. That will be on May 11th right here in Town Hall at 6 p.m. Registration is requested. We will be serving light fare and refreshments, so we'd like to know how many people are coming. So if you could go to that link on huntersville.org and let us know that you're coming. Also, I want to take a minute now. I'm in an NC3C polo instead of a Huntersville polo tonight, and that's because I have the privilege of being on the board of directors of NC3C for the state of North Carolina. NC3C is the North Carolina City and County Communicators Organization. It is the professional organization across the state for people who do what I and my team does for a living across our state. Every year we put on an annual conference, and part of that is our Excellence in Communications Awards program. It recognizes outstanding work across the state done by government communicators for their local communities. And in 2026, we had a record-setting 266 entries into 27 categories. So it was very highly contested this year. And all entries are judged by our peers in Minnesota, who are part of our counterpart called Minnesota Association of Government Communicators. We were very lucky this year to win awards again for the third year in a row. And we won 6 awards, 2 first place, 3 second place, and 1 third place across 6 different categories. It is not just the communications team that had a hand in these, it is many of our departments. And this is representative of the good work that our departments are doing in our community every day. And there are people here from those departments that I would like to take the time to recognize tonight, call up and receive their award that we received at our conference 2 weeks ago. And when I call your award, if you'll come up to the front and wait, we'll take a photo with the board when we're all done. So first up, Parks and Rec with their Halloween in Huntersville Award. They won 3rd place in the special event category for that annual event. And then in second place, and most creative with least dollars spent, which means executing a project on a very tight or limited budget. The Town of Huntersville Brand Store, which is where we buy all of our nice branded apparel for staff. Next, we have a second place that, in my humble opinion, should have been a first place because this man saw 18 million views on their social page over the course of only 6 months. In second place for general use on a single platform, we have Huntersville Police Department using Facebook to effectively engage with their residents. And next, for the town, we have second place for citizen participation and the way we engaged our community around the development of our town brand. And I'll slide. And in first place for a single post on Facebook, we have From Medical Call to Heroic Rescue for the Huntersville Fire Department, where they posted live body cam footage of firefighters rushing into a fire to save a victim of that fire, who then returned to fire station number 1 to thank the firefighter who saved his life. And then our last award to round it all out, we received first place in the branding and logo category for the Town of Huntersville brand, which we developed across the course of 5 months with input from internal and external stakeholders in our community and was adopted by the town board in January 2025.
I'm going to take personal privilege here and read the Arbor Day proclamation first, because I want to give due time to these fantastic women sitting in front of us. So our proclamation for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was the first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing a habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in Huntersville, North Carolina. And now, the main event. I am so excited to welcome the North Mac High School women's basketball state champions to our town hall today. I haven't even gotten to the good part. All right, with a remarkable overall record of 29-2 and a 9-1 conference mark, these Vikings established themselves as one of the most dominant programs, not only in the 7A classification, but across the entire state of North Carolina. Their journey included championship runs through the MEC Power 6 tournament and regular season, a Western Regional Championship, and an unforgettable postseason culminating in the NCHSAA 7A state championship title. Off the court, The team proved that excellence extends beyond basketball in posting an impressive 3.79 weighted GPA and representing North Meck with pride, character, and class. Guided by head coach Jennifer Baker and a dedicated coaching staff, supported by administration, families, and the North Meck community, these student athletes embrace the standard for Vikings for life. And so we are so excited to give you another standing ovation and round of applause to these outstanding women who are setting the bar high for our community and for women in our community, and we are so proud of you. And as an educator myself, I'm really proud of that GPA. Y'all keep it up. And now I will have the board and the outstanding ladies join us in front of the dais there, and we'll take a picture together.
Where's all that height? The speed?
Oh, it's so.
Okay, we will begin our public comment period now. And we are going to start with Rob Munier. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Board. My name is Rob Munier. I am... Okay.
Larry, can you stop the timer? All right, thank you. We have one little presentation for Commissioner Rivers that I forgot about. Don't want to forget.
We commemorated by going ahead and closing all of our outdoor athletic fields, and then we held a 75th celebration. So we invite all of the community to come back when we reopen those facilities, brand new, state-of-the-art, nice and shiny. In October, I will definitely post in the newspaper when that happens, but we invite you all, please come out and see what we have new, fresh paint, and what's special. Also celebrate and commemorate and support our athletic programs. I happen to also be your interim athletic director as well.
All right, Mr. Munier, I'm going to let Larry reset your timer for you, and then now you can begin.
Great, thank you. Once again, my name is Rob Munier. I actually live in Concord, but I'm trying to establish a business here in Huntersville, and we've been running into some constraints with some of the commercial real estate and the usage for indoor sports recreation facilities. Currently, the usage for a business park is 10% of that business park's square footage. I understand there's been some discussion regarding increasing that. And I'm wondering what that is. Is there a timeline? Is there an alternate to possibly get a temporary, application or something in place that we could try to move our business forward? And that's my two questions. I don't need the rest of the time.
All right, Mr. Munier, I'll send y'all an email.
Great, thank you.
Next, we have Joe Sailors. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Joe Sailors, 9332 Westminster Drive, Huntersville. I'm here because of the Oak Grove development that is in the process for the last several months. And we met a third public hearing at our neighborhood with the developer, and things have changed around to the point that the neighborhood is at least gaining the lesser of several evils in the process. It will allow for traffic to proceed through their own neighborhood out to Mount Holly Holmesville Road, as long as you're able to, and I talked with Emily earlier about putting in the approval statement that the street be converted or be accepted and able for public use before they really start any housing development. Staff has a particular way of reading your approval, and if you don't put it in the approval, staff may or may not follow up on it. So to keep cars from coming through our neighborhood, I came out this afternoon and there was a lot of police activity on W.T. Harris, and cutting through our neighborhood from Mount Holly Holmesville Road to Beatty's Ford, I only live 5 blocks from Mount Holly Holmesville Road. I met 26 vehicles coming to meet me that were cutting through my neighborhood to get over to Beatty's Ford Road. So we don't need the additional traffic that is generated from this neighborhood to come through Westminster Park. That's why we're requesting also that Overhill not be closed. And I've sent all of you that information as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Metchi, hopefully I said that somewhat correctly. You have 3 minutes. Oh, thanks.
I'm Kim Metchi, and I live at 15217 Marymont Avenue in Vermillion, Huntersville. I'm here to discuss the concerns of our area along with a lot of our neighbors. Do our neighbors want to raise our hands? We're in the Valencia and Sherrill sections of the Vermillion development that remain incomplete despite instead of the prior commitments and expectations. After meeting with Anthony Roberts and the commissioner, our commissioner Nick Walsh, the Valencia Section H area that has been built out since 2022, as of this February of this year, has had the curbs, sidewalks, and top coat of asphalt finished finally. Bowman Development has not fulfilled agreed upon obligations, leaving infrastructure and improvements unfinished. For example, Valencia Sections E and F have been left unfinished since approximately 2018. That's 8 years. A bid and timeline have been submitted just this week, for the Valencia E and F I just mentioned and the Sherrill Section J. The work will start supposedly next week. The city has been out to mark the streets again, their 5th time. Matter of fact, they said this time it was a lot easier because they could still see their paint marks. So, but this raises serious concerns about whether the remaining work will be completed to the acceptable standard or within a reasonable timeline. We ask that the city monitor closely that the work is staying on the timeline promised, that Bowman Development has demonstrated many times to us that he cannot be counted on. Based on our direct conversations with Mr. Bowman himself, he's indicated over email, over by phone, and in person, and to the board of the HOA, financial limitations and the intention to complete only minimal requirements to the standard of the city, and probably put in no landscaping or trees. Does this sound like a developer that we can count on doing the work and is supposed to be done to a standard that we expect and in a timely manner that we deserve? This is not an inconvenience. It's affecting residents' safety, property values, and confidence in the development process. We rely on the city to ensure that their approved projects are completed as promised. In addition, there's a serious safety concern in the Valencia Section A on Marymount Avenue, where the sidewalks crossing over a creek have not been completed as originally planned. Residents are being forced into the roadway at a blind spot. A child this past week nearly fell over into the ravine. Also a neighbor was almost struck by a car walking last fall.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Just this past week, was almost hit in the blind spot. Please help us stay on track as we expect the city to do.
Since we have a lot of new people here, normally clapping is discouraged after each speaker just due to the course of time that we have for speaking. We try to keep that to a minimum, and also yelling and shouting and jeering when people are speaking as well. Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm. Please keep that to a minimum. Randy Mechie, you're next. 3 minutes.
Randy Mechie, and I live at 15217 Marymount in Huntersville, Valencia, Vermilion area. And I would like to specifically address to the board the safety issue at the bottom of the hill that my wife was beginning to speak about, but then ran out of time. But the homeowners in our area are very adamantly opposed to any change that does not require continuous sidewalks on both sides of our street. This is a steep, curved hill, and both drivers and pedestrians have poor visibility, both coming up and going down this section of Marymount. The planned master development shows continuous sidewalks on both sides of the street, and it needs to remain that way, along with requiring safety fencing. However, just yesterday, the developer, in an email to Anthony Roberts, describes this serious safety issue as a minor item, and he states, for example, in H, the town required a submittal to Excel showing how a small section of sidewalk would be treated at the stream crossing, waiting on town review. But then about 2 weeks ago, Cecil Talbot, in an update to Anthony, states, and for this same section, the status of the missing sidewalk sections on Marymount Avenue where retaining walls are anticipated, as it currently stands, is an extremely unsafe situation. Town is awaiting submittal of required revision by the builder and approved plan showing proposed sidewalk at the back of the curb with structural design of retaining walls or whatever idea their engineer can come up with for making the sidewalk safe for use. A full administrative review and a rezoning request will be required if Bowman wishes to eliminate the sidewalk on one side of the crossing. So we, the homeowners, agree 100% with Cecil that this is a serious safety issue, and we urge the city to not approve eliminating any sidewalk on either side of this street on Marymount Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. BJ Caldwell. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Caldwell.
Good evening. Betty B.J. Caldwell, address 14521 New Haven Drive, Huntersville, North Carolina. A meeting of the ages is about to take place in the Pottstown community between the town and residents. In over 100 years, the town's governing body has just come to the realization that there is a need for Pottstown and its streets. Dalewood Drive, Central Avenue, Church Street, David Street, and Neely Street in order to move traffic strategically throughout the town. Unfortunately, during most of the 20th century, Pottstown was a place of ill repute because it was the designated home of descendants of the enslaved. Now the streets are of unspoken value. From its beginning at the 20th century, it has been a community safety net for African Americans who were treated as second-class citizens during the Jim Crow era. Even with this being the case, families shared enough love and compassion that carried them through issues confronting them. But to the families, and I won't name them, who were regulated by segregation to live there, this was home. And it was a saving grace location to raise a family on the east side of the railroad tracks. It is where community was forged by the people. This is one example of life on Church Street and how it shaped generations. It may not be a special place to all, but descendants of my parents, it has been our loving home for 76 years, a perfect haven and historic nest for them. In this 26th year of the 21st century, Pottstown is Huntersville's best solution to moving vehicular traffic from the heart of town. Yet it is the most impoverished area when it comes to infrastructure within the town. Residents struggle with the effects of intergenerational poverty resulting from historic trauma and injustice. Some, like reliable health care, struggle with serious conditions like heart disease and diabetes. Surviving and working in the midst of these dire conditions, there is no outside help until new neighbors moved in near us. For residents to push back against the opening of Church Street and mount a campaign against unfair treatment it poses is an overwhelming challenge. Today, residents are at a crossroads wondering what to do and where do we go for help or relief. That is why I must take a stand against the new proposal in making Church Street a major thoroughfare to solve the town's traffic problem. As I see it, town government is our only source for help. Therefore, I am requesting you to look again closely at your plans, then seriously factor in the historic Pottstown community residents and how this will impact them for years to come. Think how they barely survived gentrification parts 1 and 2. Pause, strategize, take another look, and consider the facts of those who live in this community. Thank you. And please read that. I didn't have time to get it to read it, but all of you, please take time to read it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. Mark Levine, you have 3 minutes.
Mark Levine, 13806 Berkeley Ave in Vermilion, Huntersville. Excuse me. Good evening, commissioners and city employees, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me say thank you for the hard work you do for our city. We're here tonight for a very simple reason. We have reached our wits' end trying to get Bowman to complete the work they are obligated to finish. As you know, we met with Nick and Anthony back in October to discuss the unfinished retention pond and roadways. I also met with Jennifer at a meet and greet prior to the election and raised the same issue. In addition, there have been numerous letters sent that I know you all have received, yet we still have no timeline or commitment from Bowman for when the work will be completed. We have heard a range of excuses, cash flow issues and other things, and most recently that a contractor who completed part of the work already done does not want to continue due to non-payment. Respectfully, are the residents expected to bear the consequences of Bowman's financial or contracting problems? There has been little to no construction activity in the neighborhood for nearly 2 years, and the work has still not been finished. As a separate concern, even after the homes were built and occupied, Bowman left, left construction equipment and piles of construction waste on the site. Why is this being allowed, and who at the city is responsible for ensuring that these kinds of issues are addressed promptly? Most of the roads in the Sherrill area remain unfinished, and the retention pond still has not been completed. My question to all of you is this: what will it take for someone at the city to advocate for us, the tax-paying, voting homeowners, and hold Bowman accountable to finish the project? I understand that there's a relationship between Bowman and the city, and development can increase the tax base. It's a good thing. I'm not opposed to development. However, my concern is that the city continues to approve variances and new projects while Bowman has not completed the Vermilion project. We are also aware that Bowman is seeking variances for certain required items because they are costly to complete. For example, the sidewalks on Merrimont near the culvert that you already heard about. We will not support any variance that compromises safety. At a minimum, we are asking that the city require Bowman to complete the approved plan and provide a firm, enforceable timeline for finishing the remaining work. I sincerely hope that one of you will take up our cause and help bring this issue to a resolution. We would appreciate a clear next step at some point, including who is responsible at the city to be able to communicate with us as to what's happening. Just one little other thing. I still have 9 seconds. I understand that there are some updates regarding the next steps to the work that needs to be done that were discussed last week. However, based on our experience with Bowman, we cannot take him at their word.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Okay.
Donna Sothweld, I believe. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Donna Saltwhittle. I live at 12615 Messenger Row. I live across from the work that has not been completed, the retention pond. The roads are completely unfurnished by where I live. There's like 2 to 4 inches of a lip at every driveway, at every crosswalk, and these lips are very dangerous. I use a walker and an electric scooter. I bought the electric scooter and I can't use it because if I leave my driveway or a little circle, I can't get it back up. It's so high that my scooter will not clear it. I have tripped, and where they're talking about where there's a fall off, please, if that doesn't get fixed, people are going to get hurt. Okay, this poses a risk to falls, injuries, and damage to my equipment. These conditions are not accessible by people with mobility issues and people with babies trying to scoot them. There's the pool, there's this much of a lip. People are going to trip going in. And then who are they going to sue? Because there will be lawsuits. This is ridiculous. This issue needs to be resolved. It needs to be either maybe sand down the driveway so we don't trip if they can't fix it. We need something done until they fix it because they're not going to fix it. This is the 5th time, Italian, 5th time that we've been told that they're going to fix it. We get so excited when we hear trucks. It's like, oh, our number came up. They work today. And they don't. They don't. They don't show up. We have a pile of rocks right in front of my house that I get to look at. We had friends come to visit. They go, well, at least they moved the big equipment. It's a dumping ground. At least we don't have the porta potty anymore to stare at. But they haven't done their work. And if you keep giving them contracts and keep giving them money, there's no reason for them to fix it. I'm tired of it. It needs to be done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Be careful, please. Amy Curtis, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Amy Curtis. I live at 9220 Wedgewood Drive. Doesn't get any easier getting up here. I don't know. Anyway, I'm here to talk about the Oak Grove Hill rezoning. Appreciate Bowman, D.R. Horton, and some of the town board members and staff meeting with our neighborhood to review a new plan that I didn't see attached to the agenda, and I'm assuming is being presented tonight, but I digress. This plan is better. I will admit to that, but it still adds significant traffic to an already busy corner, which is exactly what we warned the town about when this rezoning petition first began in 2018. Again, it does provide better connectivity to Mount Huntersville Road. It's still going to greatly impact the quality of life of Westminster Park and everyone who commutes or lives in this area. I understand Charlotte's a metro area. We're growing. We can't change that. I understand we can't live in a bubble. People have the right to sell their property. However, I'm not convinced that this corner and this development is a good fit. I'm hoping the gas station on the corner, maybe it's going to improve things. I'm hoping that it was worded in such a way that these road requirements are actually required and no one can skirt around this like we had with our project. But I guess the bigger question is, why do we keep building before these road improvements are in place? I know the short answer, it's money, I get it. But we should be striving for responsible development, and I think you're hearing that in the news from all of the towns around Charlotte right now. Let's see, I think D.R. Horton has done a nice job on the homes themselves. They're beautiful. I'm still not sure this neighborhood was a good fit where it is, but we are where we are. I'm proud of the work we've done. We pushed to remove the townhouses and duplexes. We pushed for the entrance to be removed from Pembroke, which is barely a 2-lane road. I'm really grateful that Joe alerted us about the revision in January so that we could once again join as a neighborhood and try and demand a better option. If this is approved tonight, I am reluctantly hopeful that this Carver extension will limit some of the cut-through traffic. It's better, again, than the plan presented in January, but it's unfortunate we have to wait, as well as the people that live in Oak Grove Hill, more than 12 months to have a road to Mount Holly Huntersville Road that was the whole reason Phase 1 was approved. It doesn't seem fair. Let's see. I'm hoping that the town board is going to recognize that there was a bit of a bait and switch here. And I hope that appropriate wording is put into this approval if it's done today so that we're not back to square one where we can skirt requirements via the process of having something reapproved. Please demand that the road be put in before any houses are built in Phase 3. Please don't leave it open to interpretation. We do appreciate you listening to our concerns. We recognize that we've been heard and that you guys didn't just rubber stamp what was presented in January. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Wolak, you are next. 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Chris Wolak. I live in that Cheryl Valencia, I don't know which one, in Vermillion. I was one of the last 3 houses to be finished in that area. There's no more room for any other houses. There's no new construction coming. So I moved in September 2023. In January, the HOA had the annual meeting where what was brought up was the sidewalk on Marymont, the raised manhole covers. They said they were hopeful that those would be done by the end of the year. That would have been the end of 2024. So we are now a year and a half past that. We didn't bring up the sand filter, and I knew that would come a little later, but again, one of the last 3 houses. Now, I understand the new schedule. They're supposed to start next week, be done in 60 days, weather permitting. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but it's weather permitting. How are we going to make sure that it's not, oh, it's rainy this day, oh, it's too windy that day, and that the stuff doesn't get done by 60 days? What happens then? So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Elaine Kearns. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Elaine Kearns, and I live in Greenfield Park. And I'm speaking now instead of during the public hearing on the town hall item, because depending on how long it takes to get to that, I may not be able to stay that long. Also, I want to urge you all very early on in tonight's meeting to please defer this vote. I sent an email to everyone just a couple hours ago. I don't know if you got it, but I'm just going to read the email. I'm very disappointed to see our old town halls up for sale, especially since you didn't go through a reasonable process of assessing potential uses should the town keep this valuable asset. If you envisioned an empty building with rooms ready to be used for community meetings, etc., you have a failure of imagination and initiative. The public hearing that was held weeks ago did not include a comprehensive description of the use of the building. Everyone was very cagey about things, taking a vote just in case there's a sale. You initially acted as if there wasn't already a plan, but then partially disclosed you had already had a buyer who would put in a high-end restaurant. No disclosure about the actual restaurant or the buyer. No transparency, no acting in good faith, no real due process. I urge you not to sell this valuable asset in such a vital location in our downtown. Selling it now and for such a low price is incredibly short-sighted. Sure, the building will stand for 7 years if that is applicable, but that's nothing in the life of a downtown like ours. Please do the best thing for our town. Once it's gone, it's gone. Our history will not look well upon this board should you sell this vital asset. Thank you.
Deborah Weir, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Deborah Ware, 9319 Wedgewood Drive. So why are we adding phase 3, 50 more houses on Mount Holly Huntersville Road where we don't fit? I know you've heard this over and over, but I teach in Cornelius, middle school teacher. Used to take me 20 minutes. Now it's 40 minutes to get to work. I couldn't even get out on Mount Holly Huntersville Road. And they haven't even built all the houses yet. They don't fit. And in our lifetime, there's no plan to widen the road. So I asked about that at the public meeting, and no plan on it yet. So that's going to be a big problem. Land has already been purchased by Bauman during phase 1 to go out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, but that's not brought up. It's only going to be added if phase 3 is added to the project. So it was purchased, so just build the road that was promised. That would be the fair thing to do for us. So a common theme I'm hearing from Bauman is that, what's promised is not followed through with, and that's just not okay. So when is that going to stop? We keep having roads that are going to be planned, and then we get a new board in several years later, and it changes again. Or there's a meeting, a public meeting that we all didn't get invites to, and then the plan changes. And then there's Overhill. So if they don't put a road to Mount Holly Huntersville Road with phase 3, well, you cut out Overhill. The only way to get out is Carver. There's no connectivity. It has to come out Carver. That's the new Oak Grove Hill, and also our Westminster neighborhood. There's no way to get out except Carver or come through Pembroke and us. So just, if you haven't driven the roads, please do. We're 2-lane little roads everywhere, and yet you're putting this density. And we're supposed to be lower density. We actually were considered rural at one point, and that just seems to have just gone away. So thank you.
Phyllis Smeaton, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Phyllis Smeaton, 9416 Wedgewood Drive, Westminster Park. I'm here to ask you to please say no. Mr. Bowman's great at bait and switch. We just wanted, which was originally promised in 2018. There was allegedly a public hearing when he did the first rezoning, or the first revision, of his plan. But none of us knew about it. Even those that are directly adjacent to his property never were told about that. And here he is again, wants to do something different. We just want what was originally promised, 2 roads out to Mount Holly, Huntersville. We should, from his development, we should not have to wait until the 50 more houses are built there before we get those 2 roads out to Mount Holly, Huntersville. We do have a lot of traffic that already comes down Mount Westminster through Shields. We have alleged speed bumps that if you're going to go ahead and continue with his project, please address our lack of decent speed bumps through the Westminster Park neighborhood. They don't slow anybody down. If you close Overhill which is also on the agenda. I would just ask you guys to come out and drive around the neighborhood, see what it's like. Sure, that's a strange little corner with McCoy, Overhill, and Beatty's Ford Road. But if you block that off, you're just asking people to come right through our neighborhood. If you put a light there at McCoy and Beatty's Ford Road, and you go, I'll have to come out Mount McCoy, I'll have to turn left onto Beatty's Ford Road and try to turn left onto Carver. If the light is red, there's going to be a long line of cars there. It's not going to allow me to turn left. I just think that not enough consideration has been done to the whole traffic area. There have been accidents on that corner, but the accidents that have been on that corner are past the intersection where Beatty's Ford curves to the side, and people don't negotiate that curve well. We were rural at one point. Yes, I know in 2018 that was changed when this first came about. We're just asking you to please consider the quality of life of the neighborhood. I walk my neighborhood every day, and the amount of cars that we have coming are just increasing. Sure, we know that that's going to happen, but please don't encourage that increase by having more traffic come down there and less egress from the Oak Hill neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comments for the day. Before we approve our agenda, I just want to let folks who are here know that we have a number of items that are going to be deferred from tonight's agenda. The first one is currently on the agenda is 9B. It's a petition for Annex 2601 Cambridge Prosperity. The next one is 10B, which is the same item. The next one is 10C, which is the petition for the Knox property, Sanford and Old Statesville Road. And the last one is 10F, which is the Glendale Drive petition. So before. So if you're here to hear any of those items, you're welcome to stay for the whole agenda, but those items will be deferred this evening. So let's proceed with agenda changes or adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to remove item 9B and 10B from the agenda and add item 8N to the consent agenda to call a public hearing for May 4th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at Huntersville Town Hall on petition R26-02, Charter Caldwell Station Apartments, a request by Charter Properties to remove a brick wall as required by number R98-08 Caldwell Station.
And is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now, may we have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I would like to make a motion that we adopt the amended agenda.
Is there a second?
No, second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Now we have a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda, which has been amended, so it would be a motion to adopt the amended consent agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the amended consent agenda.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. We're on to item number 9A. Conduct a public hearing on petition R25-14, a request by Dash In Food Stores.
Good evening. Before I begin, I will submit my staff report into the record. And just for a quick, brief background, this public hearing was originally scheduled for February 3rd. The applicant deferred it twice, which is why the public hearing is now today. And a quick overview of the site. The current vacant site is here in the red box. To the north of the site, you have a commercial property and single-family residential. To the east of the site, you have CMS property. To the south, you have light industrial, and to the west, you have a vacant commercial property and TOD apartments. The applicant Dashin Stores Incorporated is proposing to rezone 2.6 acres of corporate business with conditions to highway commercial with conditions in order to build a gas station with a convenience store and a car wash. To the east of the property, bordering CMS, they will provide a 30-foot required undisturbed buffer. To the south, a shared driveway will be constructed to connect with any future development, and highway commercial has a specimen tree save requirement of 30%. The applicant is proposing to save 25%, with the remaining 5% being mitigated. And along Statesville Road and Hambright Road, they will build a 10-foot side path along that frontage. Within the rezoning site plan, the applicant has provided a few extra conditions. One of those is max floor areas for their principal building and their car wash. The applicant has also included their own schematic notes. Staff is not in support of those notes and recommend that they use staff's approved language in order to ensure that if this project is approved, what is approved gets built. And additionally, they have listed the following uses up on the screen as the uses that will be, the only uses that will be allowed going forward if approved. A TIA was required, and the town deferred that TIA to NCDOT. NCDOT did have a list of required improvements. The list of required improvements that the applicant provided slightly differs and includes the word proposed. Staff recommends that they remove the word proposed and use required. In addition, we highly recommend that they meet all of NCDOT's required improvements in order for our own recommendation. The applicant has 3 modification requests from the zoning ordinance. The first is a request to allow side yard parking to occupy more than 45% of the principal frontage. They are proposing to have 68%. We do recommend this modification request due to the shape of the lot and it being on an intersection. In addition, the applicant is providing a 20-foot landscape screening along the road frontage, as you can see in the green and the red. Though staff does recommend that the screening not be included in the red in order to ensure that the convenience store is a focal point to the intersection. The second modification request is to allow grading within the 30-foot buffer. They need to grade within that 30-foot buffer due to their driveway access. Staff is also in support of this modification due to that driveway access being required by NCDOT. And their last modification request is to allow their dumpster to be located in their side yard. Staff is in support of this request, as that dumpster enclosure will be screened by the 20-foot landscape screening that they are providing along Hambright Road. So the applicant has been working with staff to create an architectural elevation that provides a strong pedestrian relationship along the street frontage. In addition, both sides, the street frontage side and the parking side, will have primary pedestrian entrances, and the front street frontage windows will act as a display case, ensuring that it has frontage qualities with the street. Staff does recommend that a note or further detailing be provided on that display case area, as we require that to be amenitized and not left blank. A few examples of what an amenitized display area looks like is a mural artwork or displaying merchandise. And here is a blueprint layout of what their store looks like. You can see the display case at the front, closest to the front street frontage, and the red arrows represent their primary pedestrian entrances. The 2040 Huntersville Community Plan is consistent with the rezoning, and the rezoning site is located within the mixed-use center and employment center future character areas. And the following land use policies support the plan, as the site is along a major intersection with existing infrastructure. They're providing shared connection to the property to the south, and they are using high design qualities for their building elevations. As long or until the TIA recommendations are met, policy T6 does not support the plan. And with that, staff could support the project if the following conditions are met. The first is that the convenience store interior space along the road frontage has a clearly defined plan for activation, that all outstanding TIA recommendations items are committed to, that the developer use the staff-approved schematic notes, and that all minor staff comments are addressed. And with that, if you have any questions, I can answer those. And the applicant also has a presentation as well.
Any questions for staff? Okay, we'll have the applicant.
Nathan, just the arrows. Okay. Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Board of Commissioners, my name is John Carmichael, and I represent the applicant, Dashin Food Stores, with me tonight. We've got Todd Bonnet, Matthew Parker with Dashin, and then this is Mark Strickland. He's the civil engineer that's prepared the plans and working on the project. We appreciate Nathan's assistance throughout the process. I'll say at the outset that the applicant agrees with all the conditions that Nathan just laid out, including using the schematic notes that the planning staff has recommended. And in terms of the TIA, we agree with those conditions too. The improvements are depicted on the plan, but the notes on the plan, they omitted, I believe, the westbound left turn lane on Hambright Road and the verbiage. They repeated the right turn lane twice, so all that will be taken care of in the plan that we'll file no later than May 4 with Nathan. But we'll try not to be too duplicative. But the site's 2.67 acres located on the southeast corner of the intersection of Hambright and Statesville Road. You've got J.M. Alexander to the east. You've got Stony Brook to the northeast. The Colonial Pipeline is here along the eastern boundary line of the site. This is the animal hospital to the north. You've got industrial use to the south, and then this is multifamily and a vacant parcel here. West of the site across the Statesville Road. The site zoned CBCD. The request is to rezone the site to the Highway Commercial Conditional District to accommodate a convenience store with gasoline sales and an accessory car wash. There are other commercial uses that would also be allowed. This is really in the event that, I can't imagine it happened, but 15 years down the road, the convenience store decided it wanted to move on, but it would be retail establishments, offices, professional and personal services, restaurants without drive-through windows, healthcare services, and a branch bank. The maximum gross floor area of the principal building would actually be 6,000 square feet. The maximum size of the car wash building would be 1,350 square feet, and the maximum building height would be 35 feet. This is the site plan. I'm going to ask Mark to briefly review that, and then I'll pick up with the elevations and some interior shots of the store.
Hi, I'm Mark Strickland with Decker Morgan Group, and we are the civil engineer for this site. Can you guys hear me? All right. So we're civil engineer here, so we've got the layout with the building as close as we could get to the frontage. With the corner site, it's a little bit unique. In order to meet the maximum setbacks on both of them, it basically forced us into this catty corner site design with the canopy behind there and the car wash farther away from that. That's the smallest building that you see on the south of that picture, if you're looking at the picture planned south. Along the southeastern portion there is the Colonial Pipeline, where we have the 30-foot undisturbed buffer with the small encroachment, and that's the modification we've requested for the location of the entrance, which is required by DOT to line it up across from the animal hospital entrance. So we wanted to line those up, and that forces us to slightly encroach on that 30-foot buffer. Everywhere else, we've left that buffer there. The stormwater facility will be on the south side of the site in this picture, and you can see the sidewalks and the pedestrian connectivity to the intersection side of the building there. Along the sides, as Nathan described, we are going to have 20-foot landscaping buffers. All site lighting is going to be angled down towards the site so that there will be no light pollution away from the site boundary. All of the DOT improvements are shown on this plan, even though our notes were incorrect on the plan sheet. We have addressed all TIA recommendations on this layout that you have here. And there are other future DOT projects planned for this intersection. So we will be responsible for the improvements that are shown on this plan, and then there'll be future improvements down the road by DOT and other developers. Anything else?
No, I think that's good.
All right.
And just, the transportation improvements are a right turn lane here, dedicated right turn lane on Statesville, heading into this access point, a right turn lane with 100 feet of storage on Hambright, eastbound Hambright into the site access, a westbound left turn lane with 100 feet of storage into the Hambright Road site access, and then a new right turn lane here on westbound Hambright at the intersection of Statesville and Hambright with 100 feet of storage. And there is outdoor dining here, and then you can see the pedestrian entrance to the building from the intersection. And of course, there are pedestrian entrances on the fuel canopy side of the building. You've seen these, so I won't belabor it, but these are the elevations that we work with the planning staff on. This is the elevation facing the fuel canopy, and then this is the elevation facing the intersection. They're essentially identical, as you can see. And then, of course, this is the outdoor dining area. And then these are the side elevations. This is the side facing Hambright, the side facing Statesville. And then these are building perspectives. This is facing the fuel canopies here, and then this is facing the fuel canopy as well. And then that's facing the intersection. And then these are actual pictures of, actual Dashin stores. I'll just scroll through these briefly, but Dashin really has a strong emphasis on food. They have a kitchen that makes fresh food that's made to order. So they almost consider themselves to be a restaurant that sells gas, but I'll show you some of that. This is the accessory car wash, and then this is the interior of the store. And then this is the kitchen area, and then this is the dining area. So there is, once again, an emphasis on the food, and like I said, that's really their bread and butter. And that's, I think that's really all we need to share in terms of what the use would be, but we appreciate the planning staff's recommendations. We agree to those conditions, and we will include all those conditions in the plan that we submit on the 4th of May, and we're happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
There was a few concerns from some residents in regards to the gas station portion of this project. Of course, when you think of petroleum, cancerous respiratory issues, will you all have a vapor recovery system in place when you're inputting the gas? And if so, how is that done? Is it done in stages? Is it done in one thing? How does that work? because we want to ensure that the residents, we do have the Colonial
ma'am.
Pipeline closed. Of course, neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods around, so we want to ensure safety and air quality, we want to,
Yes,
Kinda.
ma'am, of course. And this is Matthew Parker with Dashen.
okay?
Yeah, we will have a vapor recovery system, and that will, all the DEQ, North Carolina DEQ permitting beforehand will happen. We have to get all our approvals through them, as well as during the installation process. We hire third-party people to inspect, and those reports are all submitted at the end,
Okay.
as well as DEQ does inspections during the process as well. So we have to get their approvals as we go through the process, all the piping and the tanks, the double-wall tanks and everything. So, yeah, there is a process that we have to go through to make sure it's all, tight and buttoned up.
Thank you. And then my next question, now, will this be a 24-hour gas station, or is this time? Is there a specific time?
This is 24-hour.
24 hours? Okay. I believe those were my questions. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Any other questions? Commissioner Walsh?
I just have one quick one. On the very first slide that you have the overview, the streets and stuff, there's a thing called proposed building. I think that's where the car wash is. Why didn't we just mark it as car wash, or?
Yeah, we can do that on the revised plan.
So that's planned to,
Sorry. I'm sorry. What am I doing here? Okay, there you go. Yeah, we can label that car
So
wash.
that's planned to be built, and it's going to be a car wash?
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes, sir.
just curious.
We'll,
Thanks.
we'll take the word proposed off a lot of things.
Any other questions?
I have
Mayor
a question
Pro Tem?
about the tree mitigation. Are you planning to plant on-site, or are you paying into the bank?
All the tree mitigation we planted on site.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question, and this is more of an education. If you are a person who owns a gas station, what inspections are required to make sure that that gas station is not having spills or leaks or issues like that? What is the process for that? Does this education more for me as a resident?
Yeah, this is in operations you're talking about,
Yes.
when they're operating.
Yes.
Yeah, there is leak detections and floats and everything for all that. I would probably have to, I'm not as familiar, I'm kind of more on the construction side, so I'll probably have to go back and look at what happens on the operations side. But I do believe there are, inspections that they have to submit to DEQ and stuff ongoing. I would have to look a little bit more into what exactly the inspections are. I don't know.
Well, then there's a monitoring system.
Yeah, there is a monitoring system as well, yeah.
Somebody want to describe that? Come on up.
Yeah, so on all these tanks, there's a leak detection system on a double-walled tank. Outside of that tank, there's a secondary containment system that has a separate leak detection system. And I'm the engineer, so I don't know what happens during the operations, but I'm imagining there's some degree of ensuring that those leak detection systems are working on a regular basis. I don't know that. That's just my guess, but I'm letting you know, that's what I do know about the tank installation process and the leak detection systems that are there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Smallwood?
Hi there. So the Colonial Pipeline, you said there would be a 30-foot buffer between the gas station itself and the pipeline?
Yeah, so the entire pipeline easement is off of our property to the east side of it between us and the elementary school. And that's where we have that 30-foot buffer that John's highlighting right now. But we do have the slight encroachment into that buffer at the entrance only. But as soon as you get past that entrance, we took the drive aisle into the site to make sure that we can provide the whole width of the buffer as soon as we could. And everything on the easement is off-site on the opposite side of that buffer.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we don't have any public comments, so that will conclude our hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now on to it's new 9B, which is conduct a public hearing on selling portions of town-owned property. Ms. Sloop?
Yes, good evening. If you wouldn't mind, can we move ahead to the slides? Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we are going to conduct another public hearing on the potential sale of Old Town Hall. And the purpose of this second public hearing is to update the public on what the newly proposed terms are. This is an agreement for purchase and sale of real property, and it would be with Town Hall Partners LLC. As you know, the property is located at 101 Old Statesville Road, Huntersville, and it makes up portions of two different parcels which are being combined, so it won't be the entirety of those two parcels. The purchase price would be $1,440,000, including $100,000 in earnest money deposits, which will go over below. They are staggered, $25,000 deposit within 3 business days of the date that the contract is signed after board approval, and then $75,000 deposit within 3 business days of expiration of the examination period. So the examination period in the agreement would be 150 days following the contract date. And again, the contract date is once all of the signatures and board approval have been acquired. The closing date would be basically on or before 120 days following the expiration of the examination period. And just to make it clear, the examination period is the due diligence phase, meaning that they are going to go through, do testing, things of that nature. Any additional surveying that they want to do on their end, they could do it during this time. They would have an option to extend the closing, but they would have to add on $25,000 for each extension into the earnest money escrow account. And those extensions would be for 30-day periods. There is, as I mentioned, a recombination of not only the old town hall parcels, but also the new town hall parcel is going to be recombined. So there is one parcel for each, the new town hall and old town hall. We are going to have reciprocal easements if the sale does go through. Those reciprocal easements would allow for basically cross-parking access and driveway use, and the parking would remain open on both the old town hall site and the new town hall site for public parking. We would also work on basically entering into and operating an easement agreement, and that would set forth details about having basically working together on things like landscape so that both sites look somewhat similar, meaning that we don't have extreme differences in the facade, what have you. Also, maybe some shared cost with the use of landscapers. So getting to the restrictions that are being proposed would be that it would be for 7 years following the date of the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, that the property can only be used for retail, restaurant, and other non-residential uses, not including a medical office. At least 50% of the gross square feet of any building located on the site would be dedicated to food and beverage uses, and at least 1,800 of that gross square feet of the restricted area would be dedicated to restaurant use with seating. If during the time the restriction period is occurring, the property fails to be used as described, meaning that if they wanted to put in something or attempted to put in something that does not fit within these types of uses, the property would go into default. And then the default period for them to cure would be 6 months before the town would be able to issue a right to repurchase the property, essentially. So again, we would notify them, hey, you are in default. They would have 6 months to cure that default, and then at that point in time, the town could buy back the property. Those are the highlights because most of the other terms that are in the agreement are very similar to all of our other purchases for real property because it's a standard template. But I wanted to call your attention to those terms because those are what are in the exhibit related to the restrictions on the property. And just a little bit of unique as far as having the reciprocal easements. I wanted to call that out so that everyone knew that that would be reciprocal on the old town hall and the new town hall, because that's important to note. Read the parking. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, if you have any.
I'm sorry. First of all, I want to know again, and maybe I missed it, or maybe I just don't remember, what was the appraised value for Old Town Hall? Do we have that number?
You mean before we went through this process?
Yes.
It was over $2 million. And that's as is. You know, that's the building as is. Hold on, let me just see if I've got a date on that. That's like 2.26, 2.27 is the rounded up number. I had to look back at it. That was town appraisal April 24, 2025 was, like I say, I'm rounding up 2.27 million.
And this was as of, you said April 24, 2025?
Yep, that included full access, all that. You know, now it does not have full access as you go out. You can only exit. So that included full access, you know, the building as is, et cetera.
Okay, and so is that how we came up with the purchase price?
So no, we had it reappraised because there's restrictions on it. So
Okay.
there's restrictions, there's less land. There's also restrictions on your entering and exit, you know, no longer full access in and out. So we sent it to the same appraisal company and said, hey, these are, you know, look at the property now, this is what we're looking at, you know, from a proposal standpoint, what is the value on that? Because there's no way I can determine that. And they came back with what the appraised value is. And that's what you see before you.
Okay. And when was this done?
Let's see, October 3rd, 2025.
Okay. And then, I don't know, maybe this is maybe an Emily question. Is there a bidding process with this in regards to putting it out for an actual bid?
Yeah, I can respond to that. So I think what you're referring to is when we are doing the sales disposal method, I should say, for most of town-owned property, usually what we utilize as a disposal method is what's called the upset bid process. And what that entails is we would receive a negotiated offer from a third-party entity, and then we would give others the opportunity to bid or upset bid what was initially bid by the original entity that made the negotiated offer. In this particular instance, at one of the retreats, I think it was actually 2 retreats ago, not this past retreat, but the retreat before, the town board was interested in getting some proposals about the use of Old Town Hall. But at that point in time, because we really wanted to focus in on having it be a commercial use, the thought process was to utilize the economic development disposal statute, which is different than the disposal method that is set forth regarding upset bids. So what that does is that allows us to negotiate directly with private parties once we've received proposals. We did put out a request for proposals, and we did receive this proposal back in response to that request that we advertised, but there was no bidding process after we've received the proposals because we're using the economic development statute to dispose of the property through private sale. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And I can follow up on that, that the request for proposals for reuse of Huntersville Town Hall for commercial development was done in March of 25. We received the responses back, and then the original proposal we received, I guess, the end of March, April timeframe, was $855,000. And there were many iterations, 2.6 million investment, those kind of things. And then ultimately that, we ordered an appraisal. The appraisal first came back at 2.27, but that's as is, no restrictions, et cetera, et cetera. Then from there, it went to, after we get in this proposal, we got to where we had to do a new appraisal because it had all these restrictions on it. And that's how you got to ultimately October 3rd appraisal 2025 at 1.44 million.
If, say, in 5 years, we can buy it back, is it bought back at the market price or at the current price that we sold it at?
So are you?
Market.
Just for clarification, are you asking if they go into default?
Yes.
Okay, so if they go into default, again, we would have 6 months to tell them after notice they're in default, they would have 6 months to cure the default.
Okay.
And then if they don't, that would be the point that we could buy it back.
Okay.
And this is during the restriction period of the 7 years.
Yes.
Outside of the restriction period of 7 years, we also have in the contract, basically, a right of first offer to purchase it back. So
Okay.
the town would have the ability to make the first offer.
Okay, so it's not a set price?
It is not a set price. The buyer who is proposing these terms, their proposal for the term on the buyback was at fair market value because they are going to be putting in investment into the property. And then the right of first offer, you would be offering at what you felt at that time, which would be different later than the 7 years, that you felt fair market value was, essentially.
Okay.
That would be up to the town to make their offer at whatever price that they wanted to make that first
Okay.
offer, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yep, thank you. And then, how many offers did we receive when we put it out there, like in March? I don't know if you have, if you don't have that off the top of your head, it's not a big deal, I was just curious.
I want to say 1. Let me just see if I've got it in front of me. Yeah, I think it was 1, if I recall. I know Bobby's stick his head out there, but I think I recall 1, that was it.
I have a couple of questions. So, Emily, I just want to make sure that I have this right. So the economic development statute allows us to put restrictions on the building that we wouldn't be able to do if we used other disposal methods. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So if you are utilizing the economic development statute and you are using that statute purposefully to guarantee either industrial or commercial use, that statute allows not only a private sale, but also to put in deed restrictions that would make up the difference between fair market value and any subsidy, because there's a trade-off by restricting the use versus having it to be used for anything allowed in that zoning district.
Right, so that impacts the purchase price?
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, okay. And then, so let's say this passes and then the developer applicant has an issue during due diligence and they get cold feet, then what happens?
They cannot move forward with the contract. If they find something during due diligence that they're not happy with, then they are not obligated to move forward.
And so then it would just, we'd be back to square one, essentially.
Correct. Now, they would have to give us that notice of intent not to move forward before the expiration of the due diligence period.
Okay, okay, thank you. And then the next question maybe is better suited for Anthony, but what plans do we have for other programmable space in town? Because that's something that people have expressed some concern with.
I mean, what I would say, a bigger programmable space that's in ICIP is expansion of the rec center. That's where our biggest opportunity for programmable space. I'm saying interior buildings, and that's in ICIP to expand the rec center. We have obviously the third floor that we move staff out that could be over on DPK side, town center. We do have some fire administration staff in admin part, in a quarter of that, I would say right now. But that can be programmable space also. And that space is larger than town hall, old town hall space.
Yeah, so Old
And-
Town Hall is like 8,000 square feet roughly, and so if we were to upfit it and use it for programmable space, like, wouldn't be all 8,000 square feet could possibly be used for those purposes?
I mean, we'd have to gut it. We had some, I think 3 or 4 options we looked at back, some time ago when we were looking at starting this building. And ultimately, you'd have to gut that building. I think at that time, sort of the round number we were using for upfit, obviously no bids, anything, was around 1.5 million. Some of those spaces, when I say programmable space, would be classroom-type spaces, could be for senior, card games, could be for, children's programs, et cetera, throughout the building. But it was, that building needs a lot of work. And that was a $1.5 million number that we had at that time without any hard bids. So roughly 8,000 square feet.
Okay. And then we also talked previously about the availability of grants and things like that that we could potentially use to do something with that space. Was that really much of an option, given our demographics?
As far as, grants for the building, the only money that we were able to receive for that building was, we have a $500,000 grant to be used for what I would say, and I have to look back at the language, but it was I'm going to call it, for lack of better terms, a grant earmark fund from legislative funds, $500,000. The intent would be to use that with the rec center expansion. That's a much bigger project. We would use that $500,000 for that.
Okay, thank you.
And it's for community space
Sure.
needs.
Understood, thank you.
Any other questions?
One more, just I want to clarify. In kind of downtown proper right now, we have this building, and then that building, and then we have the Arts and Culture Center.
Which is technically owned by Mecklenburg County.
Lake County, yeah, okay. And then we have the fire department
Mhm.
and Cashin's lot. Am I missing any of them?
Yeah,
Or the
Ca-
DBK?
And then we, yes, the DPK, there's multiple kind of lots, and so I'm gonna just combine them together. DPK and then the grass strip in front.
Yep.
And there's like a mini lot in there that was never combined that's maybe the size of mine and Heather's chair together. But so there's oddball little pieces. And then the old apartment complex that is right out my back window here that's beside the old Cashin's lot.
Yeah.
That piece we own. And then
Okay.
obviously Veterans Park and Old Town Hall, this
Okay.
building. Greenway land that we own, some Greenway pieces that go up behind the park, all the parkland over here, Holbrook's Park. I'm just saying in this sort of general downtown area, there's, Greenway Park, Abernathy Park, depends on how far you want to go out of downtown, but
Okay.
just sort of at this corner, the pieces I mentioned.
I'm just thinking of like the retail versus government buildings and just weighing those, so.
Yeah,
thank you.
we own quite a bit of land downtown.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we have one public comment. Chris Woloch, you have 3 minutes.
Sorry, my comments are a little scattered after learning some of the things in here too. I do feel like we were a bit deceived about the disposition of the old town hall. It definitely seemed like there would be, like after the new town hall was built and y'all were moved in, that there would be maybe some more community engagement to figure out what should go in there, and I think a lot of people are probably upset about that. I do like the idea of the restaurant space. I did look up that the buyer is something called Town Hall Properties LLC, which at least one website said that they were dissolved, and they are listed as rental real estate. So the discussion that we heard previously about some locally famous chef moving in, that might not be what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up getting a food court with like a McDonald's and a Burger King in it. Which is not bad for the people that work, like you guys, but there's not a whole lot else, going on there. I remember, I'm glad you brought up the Sliver, because that was something that was also discussed to have restaurant space and that, but nothing ever came back, we haven't heard anything with that. So that was also an idea for restaurant space. I'm also glad that Commissioner Rivers mentioned the pricing, because I also remembered a number of 2 million, and I think that's what we as residents were expecting, that it would be selling for around 2 million, and then suddenly it's only 1.44. So, and as far as the default period, town's not going to be buying back that property, or else they wouldn't be selling it now so fast after moving into here. So I think I covered just about everything. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will move to item 10A, which is consider approving a purchase agreement for the sale or purchase of town-owned property.
Yes, so I'm happy to reiterate any of the points that we just discussed, any questions that you all may have, but basically just looking for direction. If you guys want to make a motion to approve, then that's what we need to know, so that we can either move forward with starting the contract process and working on some of these agreements related to the easements and things of that nature.
Any other questions? Are we ready for a motion? Commissioner Walsh?
I make a motion to approve a purchase agreement for the sale of portions of town-owned property, parcels ID 019-031-15 and 019-031-16.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Hunt?
Yeah, as I was trying to lay all of this out, I was thinking about all the different things that were brought up. The purchase price, which we just talked about, putting restrictions on the building helps us maintain some level of control, but that's what contributes to the lower purchase price. And so we could get more for it, but then we would be removing those restrictions. So that's something that we're thinking about and balancing. If we were to keep the building, we could fix it and upfit it for community use. That would be lumped in with that 73-page capital improvement project list. If we let it sit, it gives ghost town vibes, like waiting to do something with it later. So that personally doesn't make sense to me. If everything goes according to plan, then we get a restaurant. And if it doesn't happen and the due diligence period does not go the way that the applicant would like it to, then we still own the building. So to me, there's nothing to lose here.
Any other discussion?
I ran on revitalizing downtown, and I think having something that is open past 5 o'clock is really what I want to do. And so I like to be able to walk downtown and, stop at 760 or, come walk around here. And I think that this starts bringing downtown back to life. And so that's what I would like to do.
Any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. We're on to item 10B, which is consider a deferral until May 19th on petition R25-16.
Good evening. Both staff and the applicant are requesting a deferral till May 19th on the Knox Crossing rezoning. Here if you guys have any questions.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the deferral?
I make a motion to defer petition number R25-16 to May 19th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at Town Hall.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item 10C, consider decision on petition R26-02, a general rezoning of 121 Gilead Road.
Good evening, Brian Richards for the planning staff, and I enter my staff report into the record. Just a quick recap. This is located here at 121 Gilead Road at the corner. Current use for the home is an office space for an architectural and real estate business. Located near Town Hall, we're all familiar with the site. As you can see, many of the homes along the Gilead Road corridor on the south side have been converted over to office space. On the north, we have some new commercial being built over at Walk 23. School is on slate to get redeveloped in the next few years. Of course, we have the North State project that was approved recently for the mixed-use building, and then on the corner there, their other building is being completed, as well as the townhomes and single-family homes and the business. Businesses are coming along quite nicely. So here we are, we're starting to build our little downtown. Pretty exciting. And this just adds to it. You can see the home in the upper left-hand corner. It does have some historic status related to it. It is located in the town core and mixed-use centers character types. Also, if you're looking at the 2040 community plan, this is located in Tier 2, which does allow for some commercial and office use. It's also with the limited feasibility. We're looking for gathering areas. This could, if it becomes something else in the future, it could become one of those gathering areas. It is consistent with the 2040 plan with these policies. And we've gone over previously the rezoning criteria. The planning board did make a recommendation on March 24th to approve with a 5-2 motion with 2 dissenting votes. Staff does recommend approval of this project, and I'm here if you guys have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Richards on this one? Mayor Pro Tem Hunt?
Are there any ways that this project violates the 2040 plan that you can think
Not
of?
in my opinion.
Okay. Can you please once again go over ordinance protections for light and sound?
Sure. Lighting, we have Article 826 that is all down lighting. We're allowed limited light trespass on this property or any other property in town. Sound, that is enforced by our police department, and that is a case-by-case basis.
Can you talk about, or maybe Emily would want to talk about this instead, but some of the state's limitations about downzoning? So if we wanted to take out something scary in our current ordinances, like how would we do that?
Absolutely. We've heard some rumors that a nightclub could be a potential use. I don't see downtown Huntersville as quite the market for a nightclub at this point in time. But currently, the way the state statute is written, we are not allowed to remove uses that are currently in our zoning ordinance in the town center district unless 100% of the residents and property owners sign off on an agreement to do so. I will say this, at the state level, they are working to change that law. As soon as that law is changed, I would be more than happy to put a text amendment in to remove the nightclub use from our downtown.
Okay. And I mean, just looking at that site, I don't suspect that we would be able to do that.
It's not
with the
party
parking
central,
and
sure.
everything else.
Limited parking, limited access, limited visibility.
Sure.
Not really that kind of scene.
Or just clubs in general
sure.
here. Okay. And then, that's it. Just kidding. I'm done. I don't have any more questions.
Any other questions? Commissioner Smallwood?
Thank you for asking that question. I had the same question that you did about the downzoning. About how many properties would that entail? That would have to sign off on that?
That's a fantastic question, and I did not have time to look that up this afternoon.
Okay.
Several hundred.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Actually, wait, I do have another question. So if something were to go in here, it would most likely maybe be a restaurant or something along those lines.
Potentially, it would be hard pressed given the parking situation, as you pointed out earlier, but
Yeah.
it could be. If we were to open up more public parking at some other time, that could be a use.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, in the future, imagining the current Huntersville Elementary School is no longer there,
Yes, ma'am.
would the parking that will eventually be at the new Huntersville Elementary School be available if that were to become a restaurant and they needed additional spots for parking? So like, I'm not also, that's,
Sure.
that
Yeah.
same question exists for really any of the properties in
Sure.
downtown.
All throughout Huntersville, we encourage cross-parking agreements to limit parking spaces and the environmental impact that they create. That could be a potential possibility. We have not, excuse me, we have not seen the demolition plans for the existing school, so I can't say what will and will remain afterwards.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion for petition R25-02? or 26, it is, 02.
Yes. I make a motion to approve general rezoning petition R26-02, 121 Gilead Road. It is reasonable and in the public interest to approve this rezoning application to a town center district as it is consistent with envisioned development patterns in the 2040 community plan and the 2022 downtown plan. The rezoning is consistent with policies LU 6.1, 6.2, EV 1.2, 2.2, 2.3, and the gathering principle of the 2022 downtown master plan.
And is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10D, consider a decision on petition R25-1 to a request by Carver Bowman LLC.
Good evening. Lauren Spate for staff. I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, but I do want to add that at the time, which I'll go into in a moment, we did not yet have the revised site plan, so what is included in the staff report is not the most recent version, but you'll see that shortly here. So I believe you're familiar with the location of the Oak Grove Hill development, and what you see hatched here is the Phase 3 section that includes the current assembly of parcels there. And kind of in line with the comments about the site plan. So the project initially had a community meeting in October of 2025, and then the developer held a second meeting with the community last month and just designated that the mailings for the second meeting were sent via first class mail, where the typical ordinance requirement is that it's sent via certified mail. So just so we're aware, the second meeting was not the required meeting. They had the required meeting in October. And the result of that meeting was that the community, being majority residents from the Westminster community, generally preferred this option to the previous alternative that was proposed for Phase 3. As has already been mentioned, several residents still have concerns about the development, but this was generally what was the preferred option. Staff prefers this option for some site plan compliance reasons, and our recommendations are listed here. So staff recommend approval with the list of conditions that are shown, and because of the timing of the receipt of the site plan, we'll have to resolve some site plan comments in review. If I have any questions, happy to answer those now.
Any questions?
Just ensuring that the road is being built before the house is. That was one of the questions that the neighbors asked repeatedly.
Sure. So, yes, is the short answer. The way that process works is that once the construction plans are approved, typically the developer or the builder, however that works on their side, will then move to the plat phases, which when you subdivide the land. And at that time, there's the option to either construct your infrastructure or bond it. But regardless of that, before zoning approval is granted for a building permit, there must be a road there. So across the frontage of the lot that's requesting that building permit.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
Just so we're clear, so that everybody knows, is this a completely finished road, or is this a road, with asphalt lift down? I just want to make sure.
Sure.
So we don't get into any other miscommunication of what that product looks like.
Yes, so it is not a completely finished road. The final lift is usually done after, around the time that the last homes are built. And a portion of that reason, which I'm not going to speak technically as our engineering staff or Public Works would, but it's generally to protect the integrity of the road. So, and ultimately, the town is going to accept that infrastructure, and we don't want it to be degraded, so, and it helps the developer as well.
Question.
Sure.
We've heard some complaints about issues with the developer as far as not completing projects. How will we ensure that the roads are completed?
Okay. So when the land gets subdivided, whomever is the financially responsible owner at that time will have to secure warranties or bonds for the infrastructure that is required for that development. That would include the stormwater control measures, that would include the public streets and sidewalks, that would also include any required zoning items, so buffer planting, street trees, and things of that nature. And essentially, it's in the best financial interest of whomever secures that warranty to complete that item, or it won't be released, essentially.
You're pretty thorough. Thanks for the clarity.
Sure.
I had another. Wasn't done. Another question that one of the neighbors brought up was the insufficient speed bumps in the community. So should they request a traffic study, or is this something that Bowman could add during the rezoning?
So I believe they were referring to the speed bumps that are in Westminster Park currently that they are concerned about.
Yeah.
And they can reach out to the engineering department to see what the proper procedure would be about resolving their concerns with that.
Okay, so requesting a traffic study or?
That perhaps, I don't know where they, like,
Yeah.
when the last one was completed or what the time period is before you can request another one, but the engineering staff would definitely know.
Yeah, just to give some guidance.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
I have,
what?
sorry, go ahead. Thank you.
You have to
I just
wait for
wanna
me
be-
to call on you.
I've been trying, like.
Commissioner
So just so
Walsh.
I'm clear, because I know in Vermillion where I live, they would plat so many and build a little bit of road. So I'm looking at, we'll call it 4 roads here. I assume they all have different names. All of that going to be done so people can get out of the neighborhood, including nobody being built in the new neighborhood, having gone back the other way, because there's no way out. So is that all the roads going to be done first? Or are they going to do one little section, put some asphalt down, one little section, put some asphalt down?
Currently, we do not have a further phasing plan, so currently, this phase would need to be mapped all together. However, that doesn't preclude the developer from having sub-phases. So unless we get a revised plan that shows sub-phases, the entirety would have to be mapped together. And my understanding is that in the construction process of the public streets, that the preference is for it to be built block to block. So they would presumably go to the next block and then construct the next as they're building out.
So you could be 3 years getting access to Beatty's Ford, or
So I guess-
Mount Holly Huntersville Road.
The question would be, would they need to come back to this board if they break it out into more than one phase?
No.
So you can administratively phase this thing out?
Yes.
What we're going to recommend as one of our conditions that this is one phase.
Okay.
So the roads, I know it's not the final with the final coats and that, but the roads that we see here will be put in
Correct.
before they start building houses.
Correct.
Okay. That's different than, I plat a few lots and I build and I plat and I build.
Correct.
Okay. I'm good with that.
And we don't have any ability to require construction parking to be off the street. We can't enforce that.
As in, alternatively, where,
It was a question a neighbor had given me, that they would like to have the construction vehicles off the street while they're constructing.
Okay, so any existing public streets, we can't preclude anyone from using.
Okay.
That's what, yep.
That's what I thought. Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Anthony, the speed bump issues that were brought up by the Westminster community, can we put that on our to-do list to have somebody drive through and check them out and make sure that they've not eroded or something hasn't happened to them since, and before they have to request them, just to make sure that they're up to what we expect them to be?
Yeah, what we can do, I assume, if they'll send me an email, kind of what the concern is, or then we can determine if another study is needed, et cetera, what the appropriate process is. But we can inspect them also.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's probably more than that.
Yeah.
So if someone will send me an email,
Yep, rroberts@huntersville.org.
A. Roberts,
Oh, A. Roberts.
not R. You
It
will
won't get
never
there, you
get
say
a
it.
response
It's
if
A.
you go with
Roberts.
R.
Or you can send it to me, which is easier, C.Clark@huntersville.org, and I'll forward it to him. Okay, and then my next question was, they build the roads for the purpose of construction of the new homes and then the neighborhood, and then before it's accepted by the town, they do the final coat on it, right, before we accept them. So then we would have the opportunity to go make sure that they were done up to par. Is that right? Just making sure.
That is correct. There are a
Okay.
number of inspections that towns, public works staff complete before the roads are proposed for acceptance from the town board.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So just from a clarification standpoint and for motion-making purposes, I want to make sure that we are stating the correct language. Would you say that the statement, "no additional phasing of street construction," and that the streets must be mapped all at the same time is the appropriate condition language that we are looking for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Are we ready for a motion? Commissioner Cornett?
I make a motion to approve petition R25-12, a request by Carver Bowman LLC with the following conditions. 1, the tree preservation area must meet or exceed minimum requirements of NR zoning direct. Open space areas meet or exceed the minimum requirements of zoning ordinance. The buffer standards meet the current planting standards as shown with the following exception. The sections of buffer adjoining lots 106 and 107 and the buffering section to include future sewer have reduced buffer standards and determined by the planning director. 4, conservation easement completely includes the area of the heritage tree and limits on disturbance and notes on the plants excuse me, and noted on the plants and the recordings on the plants that there is no land disturbance on the root systems of the heritage trees. Number 5, block length waiver of granted for Carver Avenue. All transportation improvements from R22-5 are adopted hereon after, and all outstanding staff comments and readiness will be addressed, as well as no additional phasing of street construction must map all at the same time. The request is reasonable and in the public interest because it is consistent with policies Lou 1.1 of EOS-4 of the 2040 Huntersville Community Plan, the Beatties Ford Road and Mount Holly Huntersville Small Area Plan, and the Beatties Ford Corridor Small Plan Area, and the Huntersville Gateway Bike Park Plan. Thank you.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Mr. Quarles?
I want to say that I was not in favor of this project earlier, but after meeting with the residents on the meeting in October, well, the last meeting we met at, hearing that the road conditions will be met for those living in the Oak Grove community, Oak Grove Hill community, will be met. I'm in favor of supporting the project, but also I wanted to meet with you after the meeting, ma'am, because we also talked at that meeting that we're going to look into the speed bumps in Westminster. We can take care of you all. I think this board has done a decent job in meeting with you all to try to hear your concerns and your complaints. Because of that, I will support the project.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item number 10E, consider a decision on petition R25-17.
Good evening, Brian Richards for the staff again. The applicant and staff are requesting a deferral of R2517, the Glendale subdivision, to July 21st.
Do we have a motion to defer petition R25-17?
I'd like to make a motion that we consider deferring R25-17, a rezoning at the corner of Glendale Drive and Huntersville Concord Road for general residential to neighborhood residential conditional district for a 3-lot, single-family residential subdivision, deferred July 21st, 2026 at Town Hall at 6:00 PM.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the
Thank you.
motion carries unanimously. Item number 10F, consider approving fiscal year 2027 goals.
This is going to take about an hour. So I'm going to be very brief because these are your goals. We talked about these at the planning budget session. You all have hopefully looked at them because of yours and modified them and tweaked them. You know, these are primarily based off of 26 goals carried forward. You know, we've achieved some things, obviously pulled off, tweaked some things. I'm not going to read through every one of those. You know, there, what I would say is 8 different categories, you know, from land use development planning to finance to public safety, transportation infrastructure to parks and rec / greenways, housing, sustainability, natural resources and environment, and then facilities / asset management. And then multiple bullet points under all of those that you have seen. So unless you would like me to read over these and go through them, I'm going to stop there, and hopefully you will adopt these goals so we can continue to make good progress.
All right, board, any questions on these? We've seen these a number of times. Provided feedback. Any questions, thoughts? Okay, do we have a motion for item 10F? Consider approving fiscal year 2027 goals.
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2027 board goals.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll say thank you all for weighing in and for refining these. Appreciate your work. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item number 11, closing comments. Commissioner Cornett.
Just like to thank everybody for all their hard work. I know we've been doing a lot this last month, and I know the sale of Town Hall was a lot of debating and work, and I appreciate everybody's candor and people who on both sides that spoke about it, so I appreciate hearing from both of you, so.
Commissioner Walsh.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Commissioner Rivers.
I want to give a huge shout out to the Park and Rec Department for our town. We had the Celebration Jazz event this past weekend, and it was phenomenal. I got here at like 6:30. Next time I'll get here at 5, so I'll have somewhere to park. But it was a huge success. So Michael J. Cox and the Huntersville Town Parks and Rec Department, you guys did a phenomenal job as always.
Mayor Pro Tem Hunt.
want to wish everybody a happy Earth Day tomorrow. I think every day is Earth Day, but happy Earth Day tomorrow. On Friday, it is also Arbor Day, and I'm super excited because we are recognizing our first treasure tree in Huntersville. That'll be at Grand Oak Elementary, and I'm really grateful to the ESC for all the work that they've done to bring that to fruition. So thank you.
Commissioner Quarles? Commissioner Quarles? Commissioner Smallwood? Okay, I'll take that. Commissioner Smallwood?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone about Parks and Rec at Veterans Park on Sunday to celebrate our 250th year. So I believe that's from 3 to 5.
All right. I do not have any comments tonight either, other than to say I'm grateful for all y'all. This was a long agenda, and y'all did a great job working together and keeping us all informed on what was going on. And so keep up the good work. We have lots more coming, so don't relax. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you all. We are